You're watching Global Trade This Week with Pete Mento and Doug Draper.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Global Trade This Week. My name is Doug Draper. I'm a co-host, and on the other side of the country is my good friend. I can't even think of a funny thing to say, Pete, so I'm just going to say my good friend, Pete Mento. Pete, I can tell based on the window that you are in the nation's capital.
Home, buddy. Yep, I'm getting ready to fly to beautiful Oak Brook, Illinois. You know, not quite Chicago.
Yeah,
but so yeah, I'm trying very hard to maintain some sense of wonder, excitement, and adventure, knowing that I'm going there. It's hard, buddy. It's hard.
I think so. My wife grew up in Arlington Heights, and I think.
Okay.
Years ago, we used to go to I think it was the Oak Brook Mall, which was like not Mall of the America size, but it was pretty big and pretty hip, at least in the late 90s. So I think it's Oak Brook Mall. Is that area? It's out by O'Hare, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not that far away, but it is. It's just basically a gigantic mall with a bunch of hotels around it and freight forwarding companies. So you're spot on, brother. You're spot on.
Yeah, Oak Brook. All right. Well, I know you got to catch a flight, and so our listeners can hit this in 1.5 times as quick to get through it a little bit quicker to help you out, Pete. But until that happens, let's get this party started, man. What's your first topic?
Well, my first topic is one that most people will brush over, they'll gloss over, maybe with good reason, but ocean carriers from time to time will put together partnerships where they'll take a look at where maybe they've got less than exciting transit lanes, or maybe they're needing some capacity, and they'll get together with another one of these ocean carriers and create a collaboration. So what's recently gotten everybody's attention, whether they like it or not, is the fact that MSC and not MSC, that Maersk has gotten together with their good friends at Hapag. Now, on the surface of it, everybody wins. You know, you've got stronger capacity, bigger ships, and it's going to give Maersk just an absolute chokehold on a lot of particularly out of Southeast Asia. But of course, everyone's also whining and moaning because when you constrict the amount of capacity, what you're doing is you're keeping demand where it is, but supply much lower, and giving someone more of an ability to manipulate what's happening. So you want to talk about timing, dude, right? About 4 or 5 months ago, when you were looking at the ocean contracts people had, these rates were just crap, Not the case anymore, pal. Now they're starting to blow up. And again, these two particular carriers have an amazing opportunity to leverage that to gain more of the market. So you're seeing the entire trade complaining. The FMC is taking a closer look at this as to whether or not it's fair. But I'm stuck wondering, what's the FMC really going to do about it? What kind of an enforcement angle do they have to stop it? They've never stopped one of these before. Why would they stop it now? So although you're seeing all over LinkedIn in particular right now, lots of people complaining and moaning about what's going on with this, honestly, dude, I don't think anything's stopping it. They can take a look at it and investigate it and run around it all they want. This is happening, whether the trade likes it or not, pal.
Yeah. When I heard this one, I'm like, what can the FMC do? These companies are not based in the U.S. And I was like, where's the fine print?
Yeah. Write a very stern letter, send you to breakfast, send you to your room without dinner,
Yeah. I think there's a strongly worded letter that is in the mail. But anyway, I get it. Everybody needs to take a pause and ask to take a look at it. But like you said, it doesn't matter. It's going to happen, right? What other than reviewing it and trying to delay it and slow it down, it's not. FMC can't stop this, right? It's a headline. It's a headline.
It's happening. So that was really it on that. I don't want people running around thinking that their distaste for it and their utter, anger about it really matters.
Yeah. Got it. All right, man. I'm jumping into my first topic, and it's about the barcode, right? I didn't realize this. I had something. This is how crazy and lame it is. This popped up on my feed, which means the type of stuff that I'm looking at online is pretty mundane, or I need to get a life outside of supply chain and logistics, but this literally popped up. So I guess I guess it's the 50-year anniversary of the barcode, and people are starting to say, what can we do better, right? So there's like anything else, there's a group of companies. It's the right companies: Amazon, Walmart, Target, P&G, Pepsi, um, are all kind of getting together to say, what does it look like? We're 50 years old. As it's run its course, is there a 2D version, which is the QR code that you and I are used to, that became infamously famous during COVID and trying to read menus off of your phone? Pete, the only, not to go on a squirrel moment, but the only good thing about that is when I didn't have my reading glasses, I could use my fingers and make the font exceptionally large. That was the only thing I liked about it. But they're kind of saying, hey, do we want to go from a linear barcode, which just basically has fixed data and numbers, and go to something that's a little bit more dynamic, referred to as a two-dimensional one, right? So anyway, they're saying that this will help out with clients that customers that need recallability, health and safety, general information about the products that you're using. So it gives consumers control and power when they interact, and not just seeing a series of numbers, right? So here's my take on this, Pete. If it beeps at checkout, I'm all good, and anything above that is gravy. So that's fine. It can beep at checkout, and I'm fine because everybody does self-serve or self-checkout now. So if it beeps, I'm good. And that way, Sam's Club isn't going to bust me on the way out when I try to smuggle a Cliff Bar or something. The one thing they said, that this would help reduce food waste during a recall. And it may give the consumer a little bit more information, because you don't have to say, how do you read a Julian date under, on a lot code or stuff. But basically, if my yogurt says it's going bad and I bought it from that company, I'm throwing it away, right? So I don't know if it's really going to affect food waste, because nobody's trying to find, at least people that I know, are not trying to find a number that you can't even read, because it's the sweat from the condensation has mushed it. And you're like, I don't know. These olives, I'm just throwing them away, right? So I don't think it's going to reduce any food waste. And then my last comment on this, Pete, is I wonder if this is just another example of us going to the metric system when you or I were in elementary school, and we all learned about how the U.S. was going to join the world and do metric, and that kind of lasted basically one heartbeat. So I don't know. What's your take on the barcode situation? Does anybody care? Is there value in going to a 2D model like a QR code?
Well, first of all, shout out to friend of the show, Rick Kinnison, PSC Scanning. He watches us religiously.
Good.
And his company,
I want him to give some feedback on this topic.
That's what he does. So their company manufactures some wild scanning stuff. And it's not just barcodes. It's just optical technology. It's really cool. They're up in the Oregon area. So I've had some experience working with these types of products and being engaged with them. And I got to tell you, man, the amount of information that can be put in one of those, I guess, 2D, 3D, whatever barcodes is pretty incredible. So that's number one. Number two, whenever I hear barcodes in purchasing, my mind goes back to when H.G. Bush, the first President Bush, had never seen a scanner in a grocery store. Huh. Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
They took him to a grocery store to be among the people, and he was like, "Oh, what's this contraption?" He hadn't seen it. He hadn't been in a grocery store since probably the 1950s. So that always comes to mind. But here's my take, Doug. Right? Anytime I hear this, because I did a little reading before we started today, and I hear how it's going to be better for consumers, there's no way. This has everything to do with gaining more technology for the people who are selling it. That's what this is. This is about gathering more information and being able to report more information based on the data that's in it. When it was bought, where it was bought, how it was bought. If there's any information that can tie you as a consumer to that purchasing information to go back to the person who sold it to them. So, I've got a rewards number that I use with Whole Foods. I've got another one that I use at Harris Teeter. And when I click that thing, you can't tell me that in order for me to get that discount, for being part of the Shoppers Club, my information is not going back not only to Harris Teeter, but to the actual manufacturers of the goods. You're like, oh, well, look at this. Pete buys X, Y, and Z, which means he probably buys A, B, and C. We should find ways, to directly, I'm telling you, Doug, I got my tinfoil hat on and I'm saying it out loud. This has more to do with the companies that are selling to us than it does the consumer, buddy. I'm piping mad about it. It's just more ways for them to collect data to sell. I saw this on a meme, and I don't know if it's true, but that 90% of the data on planet Earth has been generated in the last 2 years. And I think it's stuff like this. It's just creating more information in order to sell to us more easily. So sure, yeah, I'll believe this is what's right for the consumer when I see something that actually helps me out.
Yeah. Well, if the product is free, if it's free, that means you're the product. It's what you're being sold. Like I'm not saying that very clearly, but I think you understand what I'm saying.
No, if something is free, the product is you, right?
Yes, there you go. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
that is it. So, all right. Well, that brings us to halftime. Like I said, we're at 1.5 speed on this podcast this week, Pete. So, brought to us by Cap Logistics. We always appreciate Keenan behind the scenes, pushing the buttons, pulling the levers. And let's just jump into it. So what's your halftime topic for today?
Well, I'm obsessed with these Tesla robots, Doug. These robotics as a whole really gets me going. And the news that Elon Musk thinks his is going to be a multi-trillion-dollar company because they're so far ahead in the humanoid, truly articulate robots. He has them working in his, in his warehouses now, in his factories now. And the plan is at some point this fall to have them available for sale to guys like me and you. So you start going down the rabbit hole, and the cost is very low. It's probably $10,000 to $15,000 for one of these robots, tops 20. And you're like, wow, so I could have a robot walk around my house for less than a used Hyundai. Like that. Matter of fact, it can. Well, how's it so cheap? Because you're going to be buying subscriptions and uploads to software, upgrades, and that kind of stuff. So, today your robot can go mow the lawn. Well, now we'll give you an upgrade that says it can also edge the lawn or pull weeds. The robots will be able to put away clothes, help you to carry groceries indoors. If you drive a car that's integrated with it, it can drive the car for you. It'll be able to watch your children if you're in another room and alert you if something has happened. Do some simple tasks as far as cooking, putting away dishes, that kind of stuff. Hell, why get married, Doug? If you can have another person living with you that handles all the crap you don't want to do, it sounds like a perfect existence. So, Doug, my question is, would you buy a robot to pick up some of the honeydews around the house if it was priced right?
No, I would not. Right? It just, I don't know, seems creepy. And they, say it's a general purpose robot. Like, what does that mean? Like, don't robots have a specific purpose? So I get the examples you just gave and talked through it, but nope, I would not buy a robot. But the thing that I had not thought about, Pete, is it's subscription as service. It's a SaaS, and it's like the razor model. I'll give you the handle, but I make money on the razors, and so I think that's kind of where this is going. But there will be people that go ape shit over a Tesla robot, and just like they did with the Cybertruck, it'll get delayed a few more years, but there will be people lined up ready to buy this thing.
Well, I had a buddy of mine say he was going to get it and hack it. He's a coder and teach it how to be ready at a moment's notice with a gun at night. Like, I think you're missing the point, but do we want to get into these things? Haven't you seen iRobot? What are you thinking, dude? Right. So part of me, I don't know if I will or I won't, Doug. Part of me loves automation, but also I'm worried that it's going to be constantly collecting data of what's going on in my home and sending that to somebody. I don't trust anyone, It just seems like another way for them to hack into our environment. So probably not.
Yeah, good for you. Well, speaking of aluminum foil hats and conspiracy theories, mine is related to a 72-year-old man who shot down a drone in Florida. This is one of those classic things. My daughter told me this the other day, that if you Google like the date and a Florida man, like some crazy story will come up,
Absolutely. So they put in your birth date when they're trying to hack you online.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, this was a company called Drone Up. They were doing some testing for Walmart. The operative word is testing, which means these things are still not operational. Anyway, it was coming down to make a delivery. The old man freaked out, got his handgun out and blew it to shreds. And he got thrown in jail, and he got out on bond and all that kind of stuff. But they're saying it was a $13,000 drone that he shot down. And the beauty of this is he said, "I'll pay it, but I want the drone." And yes, good for you, good for you. So this story
Does he
was.
get the drone? Do we know if he got the drone, Doug?
I don't know. I was about to say the story was like 2 weeks ago, so I haven't followed up with it. Right, the sensationalism of the story is come and gone. But anyway, just that is exactly what's going to happen more and more. Even if it's kids with BB guns or people with rocks or slingshots, that's just the problem with drones. You got to come on over my house. You're in my space. Make my day law with drones. I think that's just one of the biggest challenges that's going to happen. So anyway, there you go. There's the Florida man story for you.
So, Doug, I love the situational comedy Modern Family very much. I think it's a very funny show. And there is a episode where someone has a drone over their swimming pool, and they're taking photographs of people while they're laying out. And the father and the son take it upon themselves to knock this drone out of the sky, and the drone just beats them at every turn. Like the person running the drone just outsmarts them over and over again. They finally get it in the end. Spoiler alert! But I absolutely see people saying, do I own the air over my home? Is this an invasion of my privacy? Right? And then some wacko like me walking out there with a 12 gauge and taking shots at it till I knock it out of the air. You're gonna have more of this, Doug. 100% gonna have more of this. It's one thing if it's delivering a pizza. It's another thing if it's on station over my house right now. Because I'll tell you right now, old crazy Uncle Pete's going to take a couple shots at it.
Exactly. All right. Well, that wraps up halftime, brought to us by Cap Logistics, and we're doing the second half of the show here. So, Pete, let her rip. What do you got?
Well, the ILA came right out and said we're not happy with what's going on. We think that the negotiations of our next contract, you guys are sandbagging us. You're dragging your feet. Things aren't going the way they're supposed to. You should expect a strike if things don't change real soon. And I think that's in a script that they do, right? Where months beforehand, they've got to say, we're serious. We mean this. We are going to strike. No kidding. Strike, 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 right? It's almost as though there's some sort of a predetermined flow chart of what happens when you say you're not going to do something. Do I believe they're going to strike? No. I think the government's going to step in. It's an election year. It would be positively cataclysmic in an election year for that to happen. I believe that you're going to see the White House get involved in this. And one way or the other, carriers and port authorities are going to lose. It's just a question of how bad they're going to lose. So, no, I don't think there's going to be a strike. But hope is not a strategy. So I'm telling everyone I know to prepare for it just in case. But, dude, they are fired up. Like they are fired up right now. And they're just talking all kinds of smack about how they're going to close the world down. So I don't know, Doug, what do you think? Is the strike going to happen, or is this just more posturing?
100% posturing, right? It's funny that you made that comment because when I saw this topic, I'm like, okay, this is chapter 3 of the playbook, right? Chapter 1, bring awareness, generate some potential concern. Chapter 2, talk about the gap and how they're not coming to terms and the potential of what could happen. This is just chapter 3, talk openly about it and talk openly about a strike. But the election year thing, check that box. You're exactly 100% correct. And I don't know, 2023 was the year of labor. We could go back and talk about all the different labor negotiations that went through at that time. I don't know if 2024 is going to be the year of labor, but I think this is going to be addressed, managed by the government, mitigated, and everybody will mostly get what they want, and life will go on.
Yeah. Well, I think, Doug, that I don't know if it's the year of labor anymore, but I think that they're in a pretty good position to get what they're asking for, but they're not going to get everything they ask for. But I think picking this time of year and understanding what's going on in the world around them, there's a really good chance they're going to get a lot of what they want.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, Doug, bring us home, buddy.
All right. Right. So my take is August 1st, the straw that breaks the Chinese back related to their economic situation, right? So August 1st is the date that some of these new tariffs that made news a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, that go into effect. electric vehicles is the one that makes the most news. Then you got semiconductors, lithium batteries, solar cells, solar panels is another big one. And then just the other day, maybe over the weekend, they talked about a trade imbalance of $95 billion, right? So more outbound than inbound, if you will. And then you got, okay, the real estate debt that we've talked about on this show. The consumption in China is just down, which is a direct result of that trade imbalance. Political tension, you mix in the fact that it's an elderly populace. So part of me is like, is it really going to do anything? I don't know. I haven't figured this. I don't have a strong take one way or another, Pete. U.S. is not the only market in the world. They can sell their products in other areas of the globe. But I think it'll be interesting to watch to see if there'll be anything that comes out of these new tariffs, not related to the U.S., but how does it impact China? So I don't know. It's only 2 weeks away. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I love it when you pick one of my topics, Doug. I love this one when you're like, hey, let's talk about duties. I think it's happened 2 or 3 times before now.
Yeah.
This is like 70% of what my day is right now. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? Like, and I sit back and I say, you're going to pay your tariffs or find a way around them. What's going to happen with China? This is going to make them very angry. There's this new round of 301 tariffs is really focused on areas where the U.S. needs to look elsewhere, or like syringes and rubber gloves. That's on the list. The other side of it is places where the U.S. is trying to create a strategic stepping stone to either expand on an industry or get a foothold in our own country. Mm-hmm. So electric cars, batteries being an example, permanent magnets being another example. So I believe that China is going to find ways to create export restrictions to stop certain technology and products coming to America as a way to beat the brains on this thing. But I also believe that from conversations I've personally had, that there's not going to be sort of the immediate effect that people thought there would be. I think it's going to take years for us to overcome some of the deficiencies in our supply chains of being able to get to this stuff. American companies are going to keep buying it. They're going to keep buying it. They're going to pay the additional tariffs until someone has found a way to manufacture this stuff somewhere else. Now, add to that, last week, the Mexican government made an announcement that they're going to cooperate with the United States on helping people to deal with these punitive tariffs, not just 301s, but the 232s and the anti-dumping and countervailing. So to that point, you're going to have to prove that steel products were melted and poured for aluminum extrusions for the steel that went into it in order for you to qualify for that. Because so much base metal is coming in, rolled, steeled, whatever it is from China to the US and then being used to make this stuff. Doug, it's going to rain holy hell on the brokerage community having to deal with this crap over the course of the next year. As American companies find out that what they thought was Mexican origin, it might have been made there, but the steel that was used for it wasn't poured and wasn't melted in Mexico, and it won't qualify. It's going to be bad, buddy. This is going to be a real problem.
Yeah. Well, it's all, the looking up the supply chain. Where did the cotton come from on the shirt that you're wearing, right? Where did that come
yarn
from?
Forward, buddy.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see. So, the semiconductors, we're trying to bring that back to domestic production. But the lithium and all the precious metals and things of that nature, that's all just related to battery technology and manufacturing. But you're exactly right. That those items or those rocks, so to speak, are in other parts of the world. So let's strengthen a trade agreement with another country that has those resources that we need. So it'll be interesting. All of that does not happen on August 2nd, by the way. All of that happens over the course of many, many years. So, yeah, I don't think we're going to wake up and anything dramatically is going to happen after August 1st. But
not the first day. Point. And a lot of companies have been importing whatever they can to beat that date. So,
yeah, trust me. I've had go ahead.
I bet. Yeah, one of the things that really gets my attention about, all of this with the new tariffs and all the rest of it is a Chinese company is building a new manufacturing facility every week in Mexico. So they're trying to find ways to get around all these tariffs by producing the goods in Mexico and then bringing them in, hoping for some type of a USMCA avoidance on that to their credit, right? Any business, any government's going to try to find ways around regulations. And so our response to this was, cool, we're going to go after you at the base level that we possibly can. We're going to change the rules in order to benefit us. And what I tell people over and over again in my seminars is, as soon as you think you found a way around anti-dumping, countervailing, or punitive tariffs, the government will realize it's happening, and they'll find a way to go after that too. And it won't have to go to Congress. It'll be taken out from the USTR and the president. I think, Doug, this is the first shot across the bow at China to tell them, we're not going to let you find ways around these tariffs. We're going to do everything we can to bring these industries back to more friendly nations. And it's like you said, it's not going to happen overnight. It's definitely going to keep happening.
Yeah. Good points. Good points, my friend.
All right. Well, that does it for us at Global Trade this week. Shout out to our friends at Cap Logistics, who, as always, find, I guess, a little couple extra coins in the cushions or some change in the ashtray to keep the show going, and for their never-ending support by lending us beautiful Keenan, who did what I can only call a passable job last week in your absence, Doug. But what really bothered me was how many people texted me saying, "Oh, I'm so happy that Keenan was on the show. I love it when Keenan."
No. That did not happen.
Yes.
Did not happen.
It did. I will forward you the text, Doug. I have had people who sent me things on LinkedIn, who sent me text messages. "Oh, I always love it when Keenan's on." I'm like, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? That's like being excited that the understudy is playing on the show you're seeing in Broadway. Knock it off. There's nothing at all cool about that. But thank God he was there, right? Thank God for Keenan. And as well, thank God for all of our listeners and our viewers and our subscribers. If you love the show, tell somebody. And remember, if it's happening in Global Trade, we'll have it on Global Trade this week. See you next week. See you, buddy. See you, Doug.
All right. Take care. See you.